Sean Taylor. Sean Taylor wasn't just a football player, he was a force of nature. Born in Miami in 1983, he embodied the swagger and ferocity of early 2000s football. Drafted 5th overall by Washington, Taylor played with reckless beauty, combining raw speed with the kind of hits that made receivers rethink crossing the middle. Fans loved his intensity, opponents feared it. But in November 2007, his story ended in tragedy. A home invasion turned fatal when Taylor was shot in the leg, severing his femoral artery. He was just 24. The entire league mourned the loss of a player who was supposed to redefine the safety position for a decade. Washington honored him with a missing man formation, leaving his spot empty. To this day, his number 21 is sacred. Taylor became more than a memory. He became a myth, symbolizing greatness gone too soon. And what happened next in NFL history showed that tragedy can strike even the most unstoppable players. Derrick Thomas. Derrick Thomas was pure chaos in cleats. Born in Miami in 1967, he terrorized quarterbacks for over a decade as the heart of the Kansas City Chiefs defense. Drafted 4th overall in 1989, Thomas's first step was lightning. His record 7-sack game in 1990 still stands unmatched, but in January 2000, everything changed. On an icy Kansas City road, Thomas lost control of his car while rushing to the airport. He wasn't wearing a seatbelt and was thrown from the vehicle. The crash left him paralyzed, and just weeks later, he passed from complications. He was only 33. The football world grieved not only a generational pass rusher, but also a man whose smile and leadership lifted an entire franchise. His number 58 remains one of the most beloved in Chiefs history. Even decades later, Thomas's spirit looms over Kansas City as a reminder of both greatness and fragility. Chris Henry. Chris Henry was fast, fearless, and unpredictable, both on and off the field. Born in Louisiana in 1983, he emerged from West Virginia University with star potential and joined the Bengals in 2005. Henry's highlight reel was full of deep touchdowns and dazzling catches, but his life was marred by off-field trouble. Arrests, suspensions, and second chances became his story. Then came December 2009. During a domestic dispute in Charlotte, Henry jumped into the back of a moving truck driven by his fiancée. Moments later, he fell, suffering fatal head trauma. He was just 26. The NFL was stunned, but the shock deepened when doctors later discovered he had chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, making him one of the first active players ever diagnosed. His death became a warning about football's hidden dangers. The league could no longer look away. Henry's story wasn't just tragic, it was transformative. It forced football to confront the human cost behind every highlight. Fred Lane. Fred Lane was built on grit. An undrafted running back out of Tiny Lane College, he clawed his way onto the Carolina Panthers roster in 1997 and became an instant fan favorite. At just 5 feet 10 inches, he ran like he was angry at gravity, delivering back-to-back 100-yard games as a rookie. But his story ended as brutally as it began. In July 2000, Lane walked into his Charlotte home and was met with 2 shotgun blasts fired by his wife, Deidre. He was just 24. The news stunned the NFL. A young player who'd beaten the odds was gone overnight. His wife later pleaded guilty to manslaughter, serving nearly 8 years. Lane's name faded from headlines, but for Panthers fans, he represented the raw, unfiltered hunger of the sport's underdogs. His death revealed that not all battles happen on the field, and sometimes even the toughest fighters never see the hit coming. Eric Turner. Eric Turner was the quiet leader every team dreams of. Drafted 2nd overall in 1991, he became one of the NFL's best safeties for Cleveland, Baltimore, and Oakland. He read offenses like a book, intercepting passes with precision and commanding respect from every locker room he entered. But beneath that calm strength, he was hiding something devastating. Turner had been battling abdominal cancer, a fight he kept secret even from teammates. In May 2000, he passed away at only 31. The league was blindsided. To many, he had seemed invincible, still suiting up as the illness consumed him. His courage and silence became a lesson in perseverance and privacy. Few players have ever balanced dominance and dignity the way Turner did. His passing reminded everyone that football toughness isn't just about hits. It's about enduring pain nobody sees. And what came next would prove how unpredictable tragedy could be in this sport. Cory Stringer. Cory Stringer was a mountain of a man. 6 feet 4 inches, 330 pounds, and built to anchor the Vikings' offensive line. Drafted in 1995, he became a Pro Bowler by 2000, known for his power and relentless work ethic. But on a brutally hot day in July 2001, during training camp in Minnesota, Stringer collapsed after practice. He never recovered. The cause was heat stroke, something no modern NFL player had ever died from. He was 27, the league was shaken. It wasn't a hit, it wasn't a freak accident. It was avoidable. His death forced the NFL to overhaul its training safety protocols, changing how teams handled hydration, heat, and player monitoring. His wife later helped launch the Cory Stringer Institute, which still saves athletes' lives today. Stringer's story wasn't just about loss, it was about reform. His death changed football forever, proving that even giants can fall in the smallest of ways. Darrent Williams. Darrent Williams brought swagger to Denver's defense. A second-round pick in 2005, he quickly became a fan favorite, flashy, fearless, and always around the ball. By his second season, he had 6 interceptions and 2 defensive touchdowns. But on New Year's Eve 2007, his life ended violently. After a night out celebrating, gunfire erupted from another vehicle in downtown Denver. Williams was struck and died in the arms of teammate Jovan Belcher. He was only 24. The tragedy sent shockwaves through the league and the city. Fans left flowers at his locker. The Broncos retired his locker as a memorial. Williams wasn't just a cornerback, he was a spark plug, a young star gone in an instant. His death brought conversations about nightlife, security, and player safety into the spotlight. It was one of those moments when football felt powerless against the real world's chaos. Jovan Belcher. Jovan Belcher was a success story that turned into a nightmare. Born in New York, undrafted, overlooked, he fought his way onto the Kansas City Chiefs in 2009. By 25, he was a starting linebacker, respected for his toughness and work ethic. But behind the scenes, his life was unraveling. In December 2012, after a heated argument with his girlfriend, Belcher made a decision that horrified the entire sports world. He ended her life, then drove to the Chiefs' practice facility, thanked his coaches, and ended his own. The NFL was shaken to its core. This wasn't just another tragedy, it was a wake-up call about mental health, stress, and the hidden pressure inside the league. Years later, it was revealed Belcher suffered from CTE, the same brain trauma linked to other NFL deaths. His story remains one of the darkest reminders of what unchecked pain can lead to. Kenny McKinley. Kenny McKinley was the kind of teammate everyone loved. Funny, positive, and always smiling. A 5th-round pick by the Denver Broncos in 2009, he had become South Carolina's all-time receptions leader in college, but after knee injuries sidelined him, everything started to crumble. The same confidence that lit up locker rooms turned into quiet despair. In September 2010, McKinley was found in his Colorado home, gone by his own hand. He was only 23. The news hit the Broncos like a tidal wave. Teammates couldn't believe it. His story opened painful conversations about depression in professional sports. McKinley wasn't alone, but back then, players didn't talk about mental health. His death forced the NFL to acknowledge a truth it had ignored for too long, that even the brightest smiles can hide unbearable pain. But what happened next in the league would prove it could get even darker. Gaines Adams. Gaines Adams looked like a prototype built in a lab. 6 feet 5 inches, 260 pounds, all explosion and grace. The Buccaneers drafted him 4th overall in 2007, hoping for a decade of dominance. He flashed brilliance early, earning all-rookie honors. But just 3 years later, after a trade to Chicago, tragedy struck. In January 2010, Adams collapsed at home and never woke up. He was only 26. The cause? Cardiomyopathy, an enlarged heart that had gone undetected. For fans, it was unthinkable. An athlete in his prime, built like a superhero, taken by something invisible. His death pushed teams to improve cardiac screening for players, realizing that strength doesn't always equal health. Adams' story is haunting because it was so random, so sudden, so unfair. But first, only cool people are subscribed to this channel, so hit that subscribe button before we go any further. Jerry Brown Jr. Jerry Brown Jr. was chasing his NFL dream the hard way. A linebacker out of Illinois, he grinded through the Arena Football League before finally landing with the Dallas Cowboys practice squad in 2012. He was back home in Texas, surrounded by family and opportunity. But on a December night that year, everything changed. Brown was riding with teammate Josh Brent when Brent lost control of his car after a night out. The vehicle flipped, and Brown, who wasn't wearing a seatbelt, was ejected. He didn't survive. He was just 25. Brent was later charged with intoxication manslaughter, a case that devastated the Cowboys organization. Players wore decals with Brown's number 53 for the rest of the season. It wasn't just another tragedy. It was a harsh reminder of how a single bad decision could erase a future. For Dallas, that season became about more than football. It became a lesson in accountability and loss. Edwin Jackson. Edwin Jackson represented everything good about perseverance. Born in Atlanta in 1991, he walked on at Georgia Southern with 0 scholarships and 0 expectations. But he earned his spot, his respect, and eventually a shot in the NFL. By 2016, Jackson was a starter for the Indianapolis Colts, a relentless linebacker with unmatched energy. But on February 4th, 2018, tragedy struck. While riding in an Uber, Jackson became ill, prompting the driver to pull over. Moments later, a speeding pickup truck slammed into them, killing both instantly. The driver was intoxicated and driving without a license. Jackson was just 26. The news broke on Super Bowl Sunday, stunning the entire league. He was remembered for his work ethic, his kindness, and his relentless pursuit of a dream. The Colts honored him that season with a helmet decal. His number 53, a symbol of effort and heart that can never be replaced. Jaylon Ferguson. Jaylon Ferguson was built to dominate. At Louisiana Tech, he shattered the NCAA record for career sacks with 45. When the Baltimore Ravens drafted him in 2019, fans expected another pass-rushing legend in the making. His size, power, and humility made him a perfect fit for a defense known for grit. But in June 2022, tragedy struck. Ferguson was found unresponsive in his Baltimore home. He was only 26. Authorities later ruled it an accidental death caused by the combined effects of substances, revealing a quiet battle no one saw coming. Teammates described him as soft-spoken, hard-working, and proud of his family life. The shock was immediate. Another young life, another promising career cut short. Ferguson's story was one of potential and pain, a reminder that even in a sport defined by strength, vulnerability can be deadly. It gets worse, because what followed next would devastate fans again. Jeff Gladney. Jeff Gladney's career was all about redemption. Drafted in the first round by Minnesota in 2020, he showed flashes of elite ability as a rookie cornerback. But after legal trouble forced his release, many thought his career was over. He stayed patient, proved his innocence in court, and earned a second chance with the Arizona Cardinals in 2022. It was supposed to be his comeback. Instead, tragedy struck that May. Gladney and his girlfriend were killed in a car crash in Dallas. He was only 25. Police reports say he was driving fast when the vehicle lost control and hit a beam. The crash was catastrophic. Gladney's teammates called him the ultimate fighter, someone who had clawed back from humiliation to hope. His story resonated with fans who love a comeback, but it ended just as it began. In the NFL, some second chances never get the time they deserve. Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins had all the makings of a star. A record-setting quarterback at Ohio State, he threw for nearly 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns in one season before being drafted 15th overall in 2019. He was supposed to be Washington's future, but inconsistency, coaching turmoil, and immaturity derailed his early career. After joining the Steelers, he seemed ready to rebuild. Then came April 2022. Haskins was struck and killed by a dump truck while walking along a Florida highway after his car had run out of gas. He was just 24. Toxicology reports later revealed alcohol and drugs in his system, leaving more questions than answers. But beyond speculation, what stood out most was the outpouring of love from teammates and coaches who described him as kind and optimistic. Haskins' death was a tragedy that blurred the line between mistake and misfortune, and reminded fans that potential can vanish in a moment. Khyree Jackson. Khyree Jackson was supposed to be the next great cornerback out of Oregon. Born in Maryland in 1999, he took the long road, junior college, Alabama, then Oregon, before becoming a first-team All-Pac-12 star. The Minnesota Vikings drafted him in 2024, believing his size and confidence could transform their secondary. But before his debut, tragedy struck. In July 2024, Jackson was killed in a car accident alongside 2 former high school teammates when another driver tried a reckless lane change. He was only 24. His death hit especially hard because it felt so recent, so unfair, so real. Coaches described him as mature beyond his years, someone who had finally made it. His story became a heartbreaking reminder that sometimes the climb to the top ends before it begins. The league mourned yet another young life taken before the first whistle. Marquise Hill. Marquise Hill wasn't a superstar, but he was the kind of teammate every champion needs. Drafted by the Patriots in 2004, he helped build the culture that defined their dynasty years. Off the field, Hill was humble and devoted to his family. On Memorial Day weekend in 2007, he and a friend went jet skiing on Lake Pontchartrain in Louisiana. When their jet ski flipped, Hill helped his friend stay afloat, but he didn't survive. His body was recovered the next day. He was 24. What made the story unforgettable was his final act, saving someone else's life. Teammates like Tom Brady and Bill Belichick called him selfless and loyal. Hill's death showed that heroism doesn't need cameras or crowds. It's revealed in moments of instinct and sacrifice. His final play wasn't in a stadium, it was in the water, and it defined his legacy forever. Damien Nash. Damien Nash's story feels almost impossible to believe. A running back born in St. Louis, he played for the Titans and Broncos before tragedy struck in 2007. Nash was hosting a charity basketball game to support his foundation, created to help his brother who had survived a heart transplant. After the event, Nash suddenly collapsed at home. He was rushed to the hospital but couldn't be revived. He was only 24. The autopsy found no clear cause, just a healthy young man gone without warning. His death left teammates in tears and the NFL community searching for answers. What made it haunting was the purpose of that final day. He died helping others live. His legacy still beats through the same foundation he created. Damien Nash's story isn't just sad, it's poetic in its tragedy, the kind that lingers long after the final whistle. Cory Smith and Marquis Cooper. They were teammates, friends, and victims of one of football's most chilling stories. In March 2009, Detroit Lions defensive end Cory Smith and Raiders linebacker Marquis Cooper went on a fishing trip off the Florida coast with two others. A sudden storm rolled in, capsizing their boat 50 miles offshore. Only one man survived, clinging to the overturned hull for 2 days. Smith and Cooper were lost at sea. Their bodies were never found. The Coast Guard search became national news, a desperate hope fading by the hour. Both players were respected veterans known for their humility and work ethic. They weren't stars, but they represented everything good about the league's grinders. Their disappearance left teammates shattered and fans speechless. It was one of the NFL's most haunting mysteries. Two lives swallowed by the ocean, gone but never forgotten. Thomas Herrion. Thomas Herrion was the definition of determination. Born in Texas in 1981, he fought his way from junior college to the University of Utah, blocking for future number. One pick, Alex Smith. In 2005, he earned a roster spot with the San Francisco 49ers, a dream realized. But after a preseason game in Denver, Herrion collapsed in the locker room. Medical staff rushed to help, but he never regained consciousness. The autopsy revealed severe coronary artery blockage, heart disease hidden behind his massive frame. He was 23. Herrion's death sent shockwaves through the NFL, forcing teams to reassess player health and conditioning standards. His story isn't just about loss, it's about awareness. A reminder that even the biggest, strongest men can have invisible battles inside. His teammates remembered him as joyful, hardworking, and proud to be there. If you like this video, consider watching this next one, which YouTube thinks you are going to really love.